So to start the talk, first I would love to start with a little bit of a background about where exactly this context, what we are teaching, and how we are teaching it. So Sharjah, it's located in the United Arab Emirates, which is the third largest emirate in the country. It attained the title of the cultural capital in 1998, and it becomes the capital of the Islamic culture as well in 2014 due to the remarkable contributions it has to the Islamic arts, culture on a regional, national, and local levels. Now, in Sharjah, where actually the University of Sharjah is located, they have a huge interest in Arabic culture, Arabic language, with a specific interest from His Highness Sheikh Sultan Qasmi, the ruler of Sharjah, who actually keeps investing in any cultural initiative that revolve the Arabic and Islamic culture. Nevertheless, today my focus will be on the Arabic-related initiatives and projects, and that serve somehow our job as educators. So in 2016 as well, His Highness established the Arabic Language Academy, which includes a variety of resources that supports learning Arabic, research about Arabic, and the history of Arabic language, and technologies that's related to art and literature and Arabic language. Also, in the University of Sharjah currently, they are teaching Arabic language for non-Arabic speakers as an initiative to spread out the language, the Arabic language, which is the national language of the country. In terms of the Arabic language, why Arabic language is important, first of all, it's one of the United Nations languages, which means it's an international language. It's the native language of the majority of the Arabic countries and minorities that are in the neighboring countries, such as Turkey, Iran, in Israel, and some areas from the Far East, like Pakistan, who are really belongs somehow to Islam, or they have an Islamic background. They would have an elementary and working level of Arabic language. There are around the world 292 million Arabic speakers. And as I said, it's related to the religion of Islam. Nevertheless, not all of Arabic speakers are Muslims, for sure. So this is just a little bit of a background about the importance of Arabic and why Arabic is important and why it as a language is an essential component of my interest and my teaching in the university. Now, teaching typography, which is a very important aspect of a graphic design or a visual communication study plan. In the past 5 years, I have been teaching in the program of graphic design at the College of Fine Arts and Design, University of Sharjah. And as I said, typography is the bedrock of visual communication. It's the representation of culture. It's a representation of an identity. And it's one of the main vehicles by which a designer can communicate their thoughts. It's a very powerful visual form that can express identity and nationalism. And sometimes, especially when it's combined with when it is in a bilingual context, it gives the whole design another level of complexity, sometimes another level of sophistications, as we will discuss in a bit. Now, typography in the study plan. Of course, the program is an interdisciplinary program between graphic design and multimedia that is of 4 years of duration, where the students get studied and introduced to the whole related topics in print and digital media, and one of them, of course, is typography. Surprisingly, the study plan includes only one typographic course, where it actually focuses on the basic principles and practices of Latin typography, which has a very rich history of research, publications, and practice. Of course, this is related to the nature of the college, as our main teaching language is in English. Nevertheless, students still work in Arabic and bilingual design application, yet the teaching language is all in English. So, although it's only a one course, or it's a one unit, where the students actually take it in the beginning of their second year, during other courses, there are still continuous practice and teaching of typography on variety of applications, such as visual identity, advertising, more of a practice on publication and editorial design, typographic treatments on different digital media devices, such as websites, mobile applications, sometimes in films or in short motion graphics, motions, for example, using type as an expressive mode of communication in motion type, etc. Now, unfortunately, despite being located in an Arabic country and an Arabic context, the students do not really involved or get introduced to the basics of Arabic typography, and this is a problem that's really spreading in the Middle East, where very rare occasions there is a specialized courses within a graphic design or a visual communication study plan that is focusing on Arabic typography only, or teaching the basics and principles of Arabic typography. So, as part of our, as a program, as part of our pedagogical practices, we decided that we will keep emphasizing on working on bilingualism and trying to introduce Arabic typography and, upon various stages where the students can really start having this or being more familiar with dealing with Arabic typography. This sounds a little bit strange, yet the reason is many of our students, of course our students are multicultural from different nationalities. Most of them are Arabic speakers, native speakers, but there are part of them that do not speak Arabic at all. All students are fluent in English because they have to do the English language proficiency test before they enter the university. So the majority of our students develop excellent and professional English language skills, while in reality they have a problem in the Arabic. Maybe for an international audience just like you, this sounds weird, yet the issue is Arabic language is very complicated. It's completely different from English. There are two types of Arabic. There is a classical Arabic that's really used in, for example, literature writings, official communication, in advertising, and there is the national everyday dialect, which actually different from country to country. Sometimes it's different within each single country. So this makes the whole notion of Arabic typography and Arabic language a little bit complicated for students, and for us as educators to introduce it to the students and get them used to work with the language. Now, okay, the other aspect, or while we are actually introducing the bilingual typography to students, unfortunately, due to the concentrates of the course descriptions, the learning goals and learning outcomes, the times we are allocating for each project within each course or each unit, the whole exercises tend to be only as a matter of visual matchmaking between Arabic and English, where the students do their best or they exercise on selecting typefaces in Arabic and English that work visually very well with each other and with the application or the context where they communicate. So these notions, the bilingualism and Arabic typography, are discussed as part of all courses, and they do not have a specialized courses where there's an intense focus on them in terms of their practices, basic principles, fundamentals, and how to deal between Arabic and English, especially with the huge difference between the two languages. One is cursive, the other is dependent, one is from right to left, the other is from left to right. One has a completely semantic structure than the other. One has a literature aspect and a general dialect one, while the other just has one format. So up until this moment, these practices has been embarked as daily exercises incorporated and embedded in each or in different courses, even if these studio-based courses are not typographic ones. Now, we came at the unit or the course we have in the study plan that is focusing on typography, which is called Typography for Print and Digital Media. And this course aims to cover all the basic principles, fundamentals, and practices of type, letter forms, and typography in Latin script, and their applications in variety of printed material and printed and digital materials. Of course, there's a theoretical part, there's a practical part, there is a treatment and of technology and introduction how to deal with how the relationship between typography and technology. There is also a historical part where also the students in other history courses, they also get introduced to the history of typesetting and how the writing system has been developed. Now, the exploration or the practical part of the course also is incorporated with the basic design principles, such as grid systems, layout design, dealing with the typographic treatments of, for example, newspapers, magazines. Then they move on to larger applications such as posters to explore typography in different contexts and for a variety of purposes. Now, the aim of the course is for the students to be able to combine the theoretical knowledge and the practical website together and be able to come up with an outcome that demonstrates this kind of input. The learning goals and learning outcomes of this course is apparently to enable the learners or the students to exposed to all the relevant knowledge, skills, and competencies in type and typographic design, and exercise those principles and practices in real life or in design projects where they will be able to apply them into practice, and finally, to be able to use those principles independently in other applications in the most effective way possible based on the theoretical and practical exercises they were exposed to. Now, as of the learning outcome, it's expected from the students to be able by the end of this course, which is a 15 weeks course of 4 credits, which is almost a 1 semester on an American system, is to be able to recognize, reproduce all the elements and practices and concepts of Latin typography, and be able to apply those principles and practices in different applications, whether they are in print or in digital media. Also, it's expected from them, which is a practice we do almost once a week, to be able to criticize and to look critically at their colleagues and other practices surrounding them, specifically in typography. Of course, these learning outcomes and learning goals are for, as I said, for one specified unit that's specifically specialized in typography, and the focus is on Latin typography, which is English language in our case. Now, what we teach them, what we used to teach them up until now is to give them an introduction to type and typography, and to start from the basic elements of type by understanding the letters, letter forms, and then we develop it to the words as those letters are combining, are building up our words. And then from those words, we start teaching the students how to deal with paragraphs. And after they understand the basic principles of dealing with paragraphs, they start working on a full page layout. And from this one-page layout, we move them into doing, for example, a small pamphlet or leaflet where they have to deal with, let's say, 2 to 6 different spreadsheets, layouts where they have to construct and deconstruct a grid. And then finally, we go up to a different medium, which is the poster, that requires a different treatment of typographic compositions. Now, how do we teach them, or how do we really deliver this course? Through a variety of teaching methods. Theoretical presentations, of course, the design projects. We ask them to reflect on all their practices and processes. At the end of the course, they have to submit a process book that shows all the design process they went through, including their reflections on this process. And of course, as part of the process, we have always group critiques, group discussions, where the students preview their work to their colleagues in the class, and they give each other feedback while we are interfering when it's necessary. So this is apparently a brief overview of how this course has been taught up until this moment. And based on our experience, many changes now are in the making based on these. We will come to this in a minute. Now, what kind of projects we give them? We give them almost 4 projects per semester. We ask them, as I said, which is in line with the teaching material we are giving to them. So first, as we are introducing the basic principles and fundamentals of type, we give them an exploration of a letter form exercise where they have to explore the anatomy of the letter forms of the English alphabets, of course, as I said at the beginning. And they start exploring this anatomy and manipulating these shapes while still maintaining the proportions. Then project 2 turns into being able to identify the anatomy of each letter form and their relation to the basic grid, and then how they are, and their relation to each other within a word, the word spacing, the letter spacing, the kerning, how they are located on, let's say, within a line. And based on this, we give them an exercise of expressive type, where have they actually used the type proportions to manipulate a word so they can create an expressive composition without really playing with the scales of the color. It's only black and white and black. Now, the third project, we give them, as I said, they turn to apply those principles after they went out. So we started from the letters, we moved into the words, and from the words to the paragraphs, where they have to do layout design for a printed publication, which is very small. So the aim is actually to explore how they will deal with typography and hierarchy within a grid system. And the final one, it's a typographic poster design. Now, this course has been taught now so far for the past 6 years, and every year we turn to, as part of keeping course documentation for accreditation purposes, we have to do every year a comprehensive assessment for this course. So, for example, this assessment includes the teaching methods, the projects that was assigned to the students, which was successful, which wasn't, what are the obstacles, what are the most successful, for example, teaching methods, what are the things that the students interact with most. And part of the assessment as well, we get students' feedback. So the assessment of the learning goals and learning outcome of this unit is actually quantitatively and qualitatively. So actually quantitatively, we see the grading curve of each project. And before this, we align the project aims with the learning goals and learning outcomes of this unit. And then we explore how we align also these learning outcomes with every project. And then we do map the grading curve of the students in each single project. Then we do this mapping again for the whole or the total grade for each single student. Now, as for the qualitative assessment, we do a comprehensive assessment for the student's portfolio that they have to submit by the end of the unit, and we see what are the common mistakes that keeps appearing in the student's work, what are the strengths, what are the most successful examples, and what are the failed examples, and why these keep occurring. Now, this assessments are cumulative, so I do them, for example, this year. Next year, they will be transferred to other colleague if he will be teaching the course. Or if I will teach it, I do the changes in the content of the course based on the previous cycle. The aim of this assessment is actually to try to avoid or to find solutions for the obstacles and try to find a way to get over the weaknesses and emphasize those strengths. Because as I said, this is the only typographic unit the students take, and then they will move on to next courses in the next semester where they have to deal with typography in different contexts and different applications. So if the problems wouldn't solve within the typography course, they will be transferred with them to the rest of the second year, and then third, and maybe up until the graduation project, which is something we don't really want to happen. Our main obstacle was it's only one course, and we have large amount of information that must be delivered for the students in order to gain the basics, gain a very good understanding of the basic principles and practices of typographic design. So at some point, I found that, well, the best solution is to start incorporating research assignment, or to start incorporating research as an important step of each project. So let's say we make phase 1 of each project is a research task where the student have to explore 1, 2, 3, 4 aspects and come next class ready to start their ideation and concept making process before they go deep into the project. Now, the second thing also that the students, the real obstacle or challenge we have is we have, let's say, 20% of the students remain carrying with them the same weaknesses, whether they become very good in certain aspect on typography and losing the other part. The main reason we find is that the amount of material we have to deliver within one course that comes across 15 weeks of study it's not really enough in terms of the time. Of course, again, it's only focusing on English typography. Also, part of the assessment, we get a student's feedback on what do they like most about the course, what they don't like, and among other, of course, factors about the teaching methods and teaching resources, etc. Now, always the students, for the last 4 years, they keep emphasizing that they still have a problem to implement the typographic practices outside the typography class. So, for example, if they have another project in another course, which is designing a website, let's say, they still have, again, to struggle with choosing the right typeface for screens, to working with the appropriate sizing, applying the principles of hierarchy, taking care of readability and legibility, etc. Also, students they showing interest in understanding or exploring more Arabic typography and Arabic calligraphy. And up to the graduation projects, students still express their struggle with dealing with bilingualism. And they are still emphasizing that this problem keep occurring, although, for example, with the appearance of many bilingual typefaces at the moment, like Helvetica Arabic and English, Frotogir Arabic and English, and many others where many Arabic typefaces were designed to matchmake previously designed English ones. So those apparently this assessment is a brief of the last 5 academic years, of course, with 5 different batches of students. All of them are multicultural, belongs to different nationalities, native Arabic speakers, but demonstrate a professional level of English language. Now, what we suggested as instructors, we suggested that we try at the moment to expand the typography training to be included in all the courses of the study plan at variety of levels and variety of details based on the projects, based on the content of the studio course, based on the project's requirements. Also, we decided to incorporate research, literature and visual as an essential component of the typography course. And in a bit, I will show you what was some of the ideas we came up for to how to include this research. And finally, using new learning resources and new teaching methods, such as referring to museums, calligraphers, and artists' collection. Because in Sharjah has more than 16 museums, specialized museums. One of them is the Museum of Arabic Calligraphy. And also there's the Museum of Islamic Civilization, and there are a massive collection of manuscripts in one of our neighboring universities where the students can use really those resources to explore more aspects of typography. Okay, now the action plan, the decision we made up, and this decision took a little bit of time because there are certain procedures that must be done due to the Higher Ministry of Education regulations, as we need for any major changes in the study plan to get their approval, is to increase the number of typographic courses from 1 to 3. To make Typography 1 Basics and Fundamentals of English Typography, Typography 2 Basics and Fundamentals of Arabic Typography, and Typography is using type in print and digital media, which will be focusing mainly on bilingual applications and how we deal with bilingualism in a variety of applications. They will come into the study plans, in the study plan in order: Typography 1, Typography 2, and then Typography 3, and they will be prerequisites for each other. So we ensure that the students are not transferring their weaknesses throughout the process. Bilingualism. Now we will come back again to, this is apparently was a report on what exactly you have been teaching, our assessment and evaluation for the current situation, and what we are or what we have already started. Apparently starting from next year, we will be starting a new study plan. So we are expecting in 2 academic years, the students will already get the appropriate training of typography. Now let's come back again to the notion of bilingualism and why bilingualism is that much important to us, and why we made the decision to make it as an independent typography course in the study plan. Is actually, first of all, it's an urgent cultural and societal need. In the United Arab Emirates, there are more than 200 nationalities living there, and all the information, signs, road signs, any printed material, it's all bilingual. And sometimes, as this picture, you have pictograms to support. This is in Dubai Airport, to support the bilingual messages. So it's a need. It's a professional and industry requirement. It's something that's spread out in the Middle East due to the post-colonialism and the globalization, and then it becomes English. Most of our students, not all, if not all of them, they are absolutely fluent in English, and they're all graduate of international schools. So they are all developed professional level of both Arabic and in English. Now, also, the multilingualism or being bilingual is, it became in the last decade as a defining characteristic of any person living in the Middle East, where you have actually, if you don't demonstrate a professional level of English language, you won't be able to find a job, let's say, or you won't be able to survive, where all the populations, workers, services, etc., are bilingual. Also, there was an appearance of multiple languages, hybrid languages, Franco-Arab, such as the Franco-Arab. For example, in some countries, there are bilinguals or trilingual as using French. There was an interesting request recently the program received for a community-related project as a traffic awareness campaign, where actually the police department requested from the students to include Urdu as a third language within the design project due to the large number of population who are speaking Urdu. So actually the students has to produce Arabic, English, and Urdu within one poster. She's still making them. She didn't, if she would have done the project, I would show you some examples. Of course, they will provide her with the appropriate translation and the words, yet she has to manage the visual matchmaking between the 3 languages. So bilingualism is something we can't really ignore in the Middle East, not only in the United Arab Emirates, but also in the whole or the rest of the Gulf region countries, in the Levant countries, and in North Africa as well. The obstacles now we have is, or the things we are thinking or we are suggesting to incorporate in such a study plan, is to think carefully about translation and translation mechanisms between those 2 completely different languages. As dealing with bilingualism, you need to understand deeply each language. You need to understand how to phrase and the sentences. You need to understand the semantics. You need to understand how you translate. Sometimes we can't translate literally. Sometimes we have to translate meaning only. So if you are a professional speaker in Arabic and English, or a native speaker of both, then you will be able to understand that the meaning was translated, not the text, not the literal text was exactly translated. Of course, this is to ensure a better communication in variety of applications. Also now, starting also in the University of Sharjah, there will be an Arabic language proficiency tests, exactly like the English. So actually, when some students in some specializations in such as literature Arabic or translation, they have also to demonstrate a specific level of proficiency in Arabic. As I said, because speaking Arabic is completely different from the classical written Arabic that we use officially for variety of applications. And finally, we need to include research as an essential component. We can't neglect it anymore. We can't, even if it is an undergraduate program. And we started this in the last couple of years, and it shows very good results because the students themselves explore a certain practice or explore a topic, and then they come to implement what they have explored into a practical project. So this tends to be a very also effective method of learning and teaching for the students. Now let's come to more focus, to a focused aspect, which is teaching Arabic typography. The problem with contemporary Arabic typography, it's always associated with the traditional Islamic calligraphy or with the craft of calligraphy. So whenever you are, for example, ask the students to deal with Arabic typography, they keep saying we are not calligraphers, although they are completely two different professions. Nevertheless, I found that if the students, as an Arabic speaker, I found that understanding the anatomy of the letter forms through calligraphic practices would make the contemporary typography practice much easier and more logical for those students, especially if they are not professional Arabic writers or they are not familiar with dealing with Arabic typography. Also, it became at this time a very essential aspect where actually it's part of their belonging and identity. And it's very important to be international and to have these, to be professional in other languages to be more globally and internationally exposed. Yet nevertheless, they have to be able to deal with their own languages. Also, again, it requires also a very good understanding of the language itself, which may lead to change the requirements of the courses, or maybe we will need to incorporate more in the future an additional course about Arabic language, the nature of the language, the structure of the sentences, and the relationship between the language and the typography. Also, it's recommended, we recommend, or we believe that, I believe, as I said, calligraphy can make this mission much more easier and much more logical for the students if they start seeing that this letter is combined of this 4 brush strokes that are moving in a certain way. It can build up as a basis for their future contemporary Arabic typography practice. It's still, although this is now in the making and this will be taught very soon in the study plan, yet I'm pretty sure that we will face some challenges at the beginning or as a first trial on how we will develop or provide the students with the essential knowledge they need to start dealing with Arabic typography in a comfortable manner. This is it for what I have for today. And as I said, this talk was aiming actually to introduce our experience as being in a multicultural context where a study plan has only one typographic course that's really focusing on an international language, which is English. And while the requirements of the industry put us under pressure to try to equip the students with the basic skills of bilingualism and dealing with 2 languages in one design piece, it was a tough yet a nice experience that led to a very good conclusion that we restructured and we rewrote the study plan and we incorporated more courses. This study plan is supposed to start next academic year, so we expect the following year the first time we will have more than one typographic course, and we are looking forward to see how this will have an impact on the students' practice, and how this will be an impact as well on the overall study plan. Thank you.